Now let's come to this problem circular motion, and I'll explain all the concepts using this problem. We will keep taking cases on cases and I'll explain you everything. Okay. I hope the previous concept is clear to you, that extra d distance concept, that when they are traveling in the same direction, they meet every time the faster runner has covered d distance more than the slower runner. And in case of opposite direction, they meet when both of them together have covered a distance of d, where d is the track length. Okay, I hope that is clear to you. Now let's come to this case. This case is where a speed is 50 meter per second, b speed is 80 meter per second, and the track length is d. Now suppose I ask you, the track length always d. Okay, and we are just taking a case, we are not solving for values or anything. Now suppose I ask you, they are traveling in same direction. Okay, this is a case for same direction. Please be very careful about this. Okay, it's always same direction if both of them are traveling in same direction. Now suppose the first question I ask you is, how many points do they meet in? And how many points in the circle will they meet? In how many points in the circle will they meet? How to do this? If you go the traditional method, it will be very difficult for you, but understand the method that I'm going to teach you now. It will help you solve many things. Almost all the problems in circular motion you will be solving using this method. First of all, take First of all, take an ratio, the simplest ratio of their speeds. That is, A is to B is what? It is nothing but 50 is to 8, 50 is to 80. Okay, the speed ratio is 50 is to 80. And take the simplest ratio. What will be the simplest ratio? It will be 5 is to 8. Okay, so we divide by 10, and I think we'll get 5 is to 8. Okay, we cannot simplify it further. So 5 is to 8 is my simplest ratio of their speed. How many meeting points? It's just a one line thing now. How many meeting points? Number of meeting points is nothing. Number of meeting points is nothing in this case, but 8 minus 5. Okay, which is nothing but 3. So total of 3 meeting points in the circle. Okay, and this is valid every time, where if they start from the same starting point, if they are starting from the same starting point, have run for equal time. Okay, this is always valid in the same direction. So if the simplest ratio of the speed, suppose, is m is to n, if the simplest ratio is m is to n, then, and n is greater than m, suppose, then my number of meeting points will be n minus m. Okay, if the speed ratio is m is to n, okay, just let me give me some more space here. So if the speed ratio is m is to n, then number of meeting points will be number of meeting points will be m n minus n m, provided n is greater than m. Okay, otherwise it will be m minus n. Okay, please write this down in your copy. Speed ratio is equal to, one very important thing that you have to write within your notes. We are all doing for the same direction. So please write down this as well. For same direction, if the simplest speed ratio is m is to n, they started at the same time from the same starting point. So number of meeting points where they will meet in the circle will be n minus m. Okay, it will be n minus m, provided the starting point is same. Provided the starting point and time is same. Point and time is same. Okay, we are not going into that particular part where they start at different starting points. If they start at different starting points, what you can do is, you understand where is their first meeting point. Once you understand where is their first meeting point, that kind of becomes their starting point, you can say. Okay, so basically their second meeting point will be what this case will tell you. Okay, so suppose whenever they meet, consider that as their starting point, because now they are together, and now every time they meet, this cycle will repeat. Okay, the only difference will happen till the first time they meet each other, if they are not starting at the same point. But we'll not go into that. First, understand the basics. The speed ratio is m is to n. The number of meeting points will be n minus m. Okay, in this case, 3 meeting points. Okay, another thing. Now, 3 meeting points we have understood, but there is another concept behind it. There's another concept behind it. Okay, what is that concept? These 3 points will be equidistant from each other. One of the meeting points will be the starting point. One of the meeting points will be the starting point. This is the meeting point. Okay, the second meeting point, and it will be divide the circle into 3 equidistant parts. There are 3 meeting points, and it will divide the circle into 3 equidistant parts. So these will be the meeting points. Okay, And what will be the distances? Suppose the total track length I said is d, so it will divide into 3 equal parts. So this is d by 3, this will be d by 3, okay, this will be d by 3, and this also will be my d by 3, this also will be d by 3. So 3 equidistant parts, okay. So what do I mean? It divides the circle into 3 equidistant parts, or in this case, if we take it a generalized formula, I can write over here that it divides the circle into n minus m equal parts. N minus m equal parts. Okay, this is also very important. So I am dividing the circle into 3 equal parts because here the n minus m value was 3. And if that is more, if that is 2, that is, it will divide the circle into 2 equal parts. If that is 5, it will divide the circle into 5 equal parts. Okay, suppose my ratio is 13 is to 8. My speed ratio is 13 is to 8. Then what will happen? Number of meeting points will be 13 minus 8, which will be 5. And if I draw the circle, it will divide the circle into 5 equal parts, which is 1, suppose 2, suppose 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the including the starting point. The starting point will always be one of the points. Okay, so this point, second point, third point, fourth point, fifth point, and all of them are equidistant. What is the distance? D by 5. Next distance is also second, third point difference is d by 5, then again d by 5, and so on. Okay, so I hope this is clear. If the speed ratio is 2 is to 1, what will happen? There is just one meeting point. Okay, now this is important. If 2 is to 1, then there is just 2 minus 1 is just one meeting point. And what will be that meeting point? It will be the starting point. The starting point is always one of the meeting points. Okay, so the starting point will be the only meeting point over in this particular case. Okay, however, if it was 3 is to 1, if it is 3 is to 1, then what will happen? The speed minus this, there will be two meeting points in the circle. What will be those two meeting points? One is this, and the other will be exactly diametrically opposite because I have to divide it into equal parts. So this has to be d by 2 and this has to be d by 2. So I know if they start over here, the next meeting point and the speed ratio is 3 is to 1, then they meet at 2 points in the circle, and that's why the other point has to be exactly diametrically opposite to the starting point, because it has to divide the circle. Those 2 points have to divide the circle into two equal parts, d by 2 from first point to second point, then again second point to first point, it has to be d by 2. Okay, so I hope this particular concept is clear to you. Okay, they are dividing the circle into 3 equal parts. I hope this is clear. After this, now suppose what happens. Now I ask you, uh, at which point, suppose these are 3 points, okay, A, B, C, these are the 3 points. In this case, I'm coming back to my case, 50 meter per second, 80 meter per second speeds. I ask you, at which point do they first meet? Okay, or rather, I'll ask you all the points. Okay, what is their first meeting point, whether it is A, B, C? What is their second meeting point? And what is their third meeting point? Okay, so they meet at 3 points in the circle. So what is the first point where they meet? And which is the third point will they meet? Okay, can you do this? Just see how I do it. Simple, kuch nahi hai. A and B, or let's do it at XYZ. Okay, let's call it XYZ because the runners are ABC. So let's call the points XYZ, and runner is A. Suppose I take the case of A. Okay, what is his speed? Ratio 5 is to 8 was the ratio, so his speed is 5. Okay, I'm not taking 50. 5 is the ratio, the simplest ratio that A has. So what is that? I will start from X point. So I will move in this direction. That is, in this direction I'm moving. So this is 1. I reach here 1. Count it. Now count with me. 1. This is 2. Okay. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. 5. The ratio was 5. I have reached over a Z point. Okay. Z is going to be my first meeting point. Why? Now count 8 in this. 8 is basically what? 8 is basically B's speed. So what happens is, after 8 points, that is, now let's draw it in orange. Let's remove these points. I know the fifth point is there. Let's start. This is 1. Y. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. This is 6. This is 7. This is 8. Okay, this is 8. Which means he covers 8. Like if we count it, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you keep counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So 5 and 8 for the first time they meet over at this point Z. So the first meeting point is actually Z. The first meeting point is Z. And how far is it from the center? I already know this distance is d by 3 because it was covered into 3 equal parts. It is d by 3. Okay. Or you can say, if I ask in the same direction in which they are running, then the distance will be 2d by 3. The distance will be 2d by 3. Okay. But in the opposite, you have to also understand, okay, if in a circular path there is, I can also measure it anti-clockwise. Okay. So how far, if I ask you how far this person, how far A and B are from the starting point when they meet for the first time, the answer will be d by 3 if the cat asks you this question. But if I specifically ask you that, okay, how far is A and B from the starting point, if I include the direction, or if I measure the distance in the clockwise direction itself, okay, if I measure it in the clockwise direction or in the same direction in which they are running, then the distance I have to write it as 2d by 3. Okay. So basically, a starting point, I can measure it in either direction. Okay. And both direction, the distance will be slightly different. So that's why, how far are they from Z point? Let's do it d by 3 or 2d by 3 from clockwise direction. Okay. Let's move to the second meeting point. When will they, now they are at this point Z. Okay. Now they are at Z point. They are at point Z. Okay. They have met for the first meeting is over. Now from here, now count 5 again. Now count 5 again. What will happen? Count of 5. This is 1, then 2, then 3 again, then 4, then 5. So this is 5. Okay. Now count 8. What will happen if I count 8? What will happen from the first meeting point? Will I reach Y or not? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So again, I will reach over here. So 8 is this, Y is my second starting point. How far is it from the starting point? Again, d by 3. And in clockwise direction also, in the same direction also, it is d by 3 distance from the center. Okay. And what will be the third meeting point? Always it will be my starting point. So my last meeting point, write down another one. My last meeting point, whenever, in whichever, even if there were 5 meeting points, the 5th meeting point would have been the starting point. Last meeting point is the starting point. I hope you're understanding all of this. This is all the concept I'm teaching you, because most of the problems we will solve this without equations. Okay, last meeting point is the starting point. Always. Okay. Last meeting point is my starting point. If there are 5 meeting points, suppose I took the case of what? I took the case of 13:8, right? So there were 5 meeting points. In this case as well, my last 5th meeting point would have been the starting point. Okay. 2:1 we took. So that was only 1. So 3:1 we took. So there were 2 meeting points. Okay. Diametrically opposite, if you remember. And the second meeting point, in this case, the second meeting point, the first meeting point would be this. The second meeting point would have been this. Okay. So what happens after the third meeting? What happens in this case? I come back to my case. What happens in this third meeting after the third meeting point? Now what happens is, both of them have reached X, the starting point again, right? After that, the cycle repeats. Again, the next meeting point, the 4th meeting point will be at Z. The 5th meeting point will be again at Y. The 6th meeting point will be again at X. So basically, every multiple of 3, because I have just 3 meeting points. So every multiple of 3, I will keep meeting at my starting point again, and the cycle will keep repeating itself. The cycle will keep repeating itself. Okay. I hope this is clear to you. What is happening so far? I hope this is clear to you. What is happening so far? Just quick revision. What we have done so far, we understood how many meeting points are there. It is nothing but the simplest ratio. We take m is to n. The number of meeting points will be n minus m. N minus m, the starting point and time is same, I understood. And this will divide, the number of meeting points will divide the circle into equal parts. It's not that they will be random 3 points. They will be equidistant from each other. All the points will be equidistant from each other. So n minus m equal parts the circle will be divided. As in this case, it was divided into 3 equal parts. The circle is divided into 3 equal parts. The distance between the distance between any 2 consecutive meeting point is what? D by 3. It was d by 3. Okay. First meeting points, and we also know what is the first meeting point, what is the second meeting point, what is the third meeting point so far. Okay. I hope this is clear. We will also try to understand in during the first meeting point, when they meet for the first meeting point, what is the distance that A and B have covered? Okay, let's do that. After that, we'll go to opposite direction and understand more things. Okay, so first meeting point, A and B, and how much total they have covered. We can do, or total we can leave for now. So first meeting point, just give it over here. Just give this and give some space to B as well to write properly. Okay, so first meeting point, how much distance has A covered? Just try to understand how much distance has A covered in the first meeting point. So if I count it as well, just to show you now, I'll not count it again and again. But I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So how much distance A has traveled? If you understand, first of all, it completed a circle. 1, 2, 3. It completed one full circle. Okay. Then 4 and 5, it added some distance. So 4 and 5, it covered this extra distance as well. Okay. So one full lap it covered. Till the third point, it covered one full lap, D. After that, it covered distance till point Z, from X to Z. What is that distance? From X to Y, it is D by 3. From Y to Z, it is another D by 3. So 2D by 3. So D plus 2D by 3 is the distance covered by A for the first meeting point. Okay, D plus 2D by 3. Okay, that's the first one. Or I can also call it 5D by 3. I can also write it, I can simplify and write it as 5D by 3. Okay, now let's understand for B. I'll not actually count when I do the actual distances, but I'm just showing you to make you this concept clear. How much distance has B traveled? 1, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8. Okay, so he has covered 2 laps. 2 laps he has already covered, 2 full laps. So 2D he has covered. After the 2 laps, he has gone till Z again. So D by 3 till X to Y is D by 3 and Y to Z is another D by 3. So again 2D plus 2D by 3. So you can see 2D plus D 2D by 3. What is the difference? What is the difference in their distances covered by A and B? If you subtract this, you will get D. Remember, that's why I told you when they travel in the same direction, B, the faster runner would have covered D distance more than the slower runner. Okay, every time they meet, he would have covered D distance more than the slower runner. Okay, so you can see the difference is D. Okay, and if I simplify this, this is nothing but 8D by 3. Okay, 8D by 3. Now I don't need to really count every time. I know every point is at what distance, D by 3. I know every point is at what distance, D by 3 from each other. Okay, I know it is at D by 3 from each other. I know the speed ratio M is to N, which is 5 is to 8. Okay, which is 5 is to 8. So the first meeting point, when they meet for the first point, it is nothing. First meeting point, you just multiply this. Okay, first meeting point for A, he would have traveled what? 5 into D by 3. 5 into D by 3. Okay, so 5 points he has covered. Every point is D by 3 distance apart, and as I have shown the counting 5 times, I had to count. Okay, so he has covered a total distance of 5D by 3, and B has covered a distance of how much? 8 into D by 3. Okay, 8 times I had to count, right? And every point was D by 3 meter apart, so 8D by 3. Okay, so this is the total distance covered by B. In the second meeting point, what is the total distance covered by A? It will be nothing, but again 5 times I have to count, but 5 times I have to count after the first one, right? After from point Z, basically from point Z I have to count another 5 points. So what will happen is, again, if I start counting, first it had already covered a distance of 5D by 3. Now it will again cover a distance of 5D by 3 again. Okay, from first to second. After first meeting point, it will have to travel another 5D by 3 distance. Okay, because I will be counting another. Remember how I counted my second meeting point? How I counted my second meeting point? Where will my second meeting point, right? I started from here. Then I counted 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. Okay, so this was my second meeting point. Okay, so I started from here and then I counted onwards. Okay, so this way, from after the first meeting point, A has to travel another distance of 5D by 3. B similarly has to travel another distance of 8D by 3. So how much total distance has A covered so far? After 2 meeting points, A has covered 5D by 3 into 2. And B has covered how much distance? 8D by 3 into 2. Similarly, this pattern will repeat. After third meeting point, A would have traveled a total distance of 5d by 3 into 3. B would have traveled 8d by 3 into 3. Okay, and if you subtract these, basically the how much distance B has traveled more than A, if you subtract this after the third meet, you will get 3D, exactly what I had explained in the first part of this lecture. Okay, in the third meeting point, B would have, the faster runner would have traveled 3D distance, that is 3 into track length distance more than the slower runner. Okay, and so on, it will keep repeating, which means I know, can I get a formula out of this? Yes, total distance traveled, the total distance traveled in the nth meeting point till the nth meeting point is what? It is nothing but this particular ratio that you see. Okay, this particular ratio that you see, 5d by 3 into n, I can say. Okay, 5, in this case it is 5d by 3 into n. However, if I have to, where n is the number of meeting points, okay, but let's not confuse this with till nth meeting point. Let's take this as a different variable, because now I'll introduce m and n. Let's take a variable which is till say kth meeting point. Okay, let's call it kth meeting point. Okay, till kth meeting point, what will be the value? It will be 5d by 3 into k. So for the third meeting point, the total distance traveled by A will be 5d by 3 into k. But if I have to generalize this, m is to n was my speed ratio. If I have to generalize this, how do I generalize it? It will be nothing but m. I will suggest you don't generalize it often, but it will be nothing but m divided by n minus m into d, okay, into k. Okay, this is nothing but 5 by 3. This is nothing but 5 by 3 in this case. But always take it on a case to case basis. This is very simple operation. You will remember that is 8 hai, 5 hai. So 8 minus 5 I have to do, and that will give me my values. Okay, that will give me my values. So, and every point is d by 3 apart. And if suppose it was different, if suppose my value was, again, I will go to 8 is to 13. 8 is to 13 was my speed ratio. Then what would have been the number of meeting points? It will be 5. Every meeting point is how much apart, which is basically nothing, 8 minus 13 minus 8, which is 5. So what is the distance between each consecutive meeting points? It is d by 5. Okay, it is d by 5. Total track length is d. I divided into 5 equal parts, d by 5. And what will be the first meeting point for A? If this is A is to B, okay, this is A is to B. What will be the first meeting point distance, or for what will be the distance covered by A till the first meeting point? It will be nothing but 8d by 5. Okay, 8 into d by 5. Second meeting point, it will be 8d by 5 again into 2. Third meeting point, he would have covered a total distance of 8d by 5 into 3. Okay, and so on. Similarly for B, what will be the distances covered till the first meeting point? He would have covered a distance of 13 into d by 5. Okay, d by 5, and I have to count 13 points. I have to count 13 points. Yes. So next meeting point, he would have covered a total distance of 13d by 5 into 2. Next, 13d by 5 into 3. I think this is the easier version of remembering something rather than going to MN formula जाने से. आपको basic fundamental समझ में आ गया, तो this will be the easier way of reaching it. Okay, we have covered so many advanced things. Okay, when we do the problems, it will become even more clear to you how easy these things are. But ये जो distance वाला last part था ना, that is the most, I think, one of the most complex things that you have to learn over here. Okay, and if I ask you again, one last thing is remaining. So one last thing also I'll cover. Till now, just a quick revision. What we have covered so far, the important concepts were, first of all, this, in how many points do they meet? Second question important was, they are dividing it into equal parts. So that was the second important concept. I'm dividing this into n minus m equal parts. Okay, whatever is the number of meeting points, all of them are equidistant to each other. That was the second important part. Third important part that I learned was, this is also important, kind of, last meeting point is the starting this is the starting point always. So I understood what is the first meeting point, I understood what is the second meeting point, I understood what is the third meeting point, and always the last meeting point will be my starting point. There's an important concept. When we do a problem, I will explain you why this is a very important thing to understand. Okay, but this was the important concept. We understand what is the first meeting point, second meeting point, third meeting point. And for all the meeting points, we also now know the distance covered by each of the individual racers. To till the first meeting point, what is the distance covered? Till the second meeting point, what is the total distance covered? And so on. Okay. Now, if someone asks you the time, if someone asks you the time required for the first meeting. The time required for the first meeting. One way is you take the total. As I told you, the total distance, the difference in the distance you can take, which is how much distance B has traveled more than A. It is D distance for the first meeting point, right? First lecture. This divided by the relative speed, which is nothing but 80 minus 50, right? In this case, it is 80 minus 50. Okay, so this is the time required for to reach the first meeting point. What will be for the second meeting point? It will be nothing but 2d divided by 80 minus 50. Okay, this will be the time required to reach the second meeting point after that. Okay, and so on, it will keep repeating. Okay, the third meeting point will be 3d by 80 minus 50. But suppose I don't want to do it with relative speed concept. Suppose I don't want to do it with relative speed concept. I rather want to do it with this individual speeds. Okay, so how do I do that? A has covered a distance till the first meeting point. Till the first meeting point, let's do it this way. Till the first meeting point, A has covered what? A has covered a distance of 5d by 3. I just saw 5d by 3. Till the first meeting point, he has covered a distance of 5d by 3. So 5d by 3 divide by 50. This is the speed of A, right? That is the time taken to reach this point, the first meeting point. For the second meeting point, A would have traveled a distance of 5d by 3 into 2 divided by 50 again. That is the time taken to reach the second meeting point. Okay, now if you see the previous calculation that we did, taking the total, that is d by 80 minus 50, that would have also given you the same value, the same time value. If you substitute d, if you know the value of d, if we substitute, we'll get the same one. Okay, if we calculate using just b, the first meeting point, it will also give you the same value, which will be nothing but 8d by 3 divided by what? Divided by 80 was the speed, right? 80 by 3. And second meeting point, what will that be? It will be nothing but 8d by 3. Second meeting point, what is the time required for the second meeting point? It is 8d by 3 divided by into 2 divided by 80. Okay, similarly for the third meeting point, it will be 8d by 3 into 3 is the total distance traveled by B alone divided by 80. Okay, I hope now this is clear to you. I hope this is clear to you. Let's move into opposite direction and repeat the entire concept. So far we also understood this is the time part. Okay, time required for meeting points, first meeting point, second meeting point, and so on. Now let's go to the opposite direction and then we'll go to the problems which will make things even more clear for you. Now let's come to opposite direction and let's see if we can do some magic over here as well. Let's see if we can do some magic over here as well. Okay, same case. A, B, two racers. A's speed is 50 meter per second and B's speed is 80 meter per second, and they are traveling in opposite direction. Does not matter who is traveling in which direction, but suppose A is here and B is traveling here. So they are traveling in opposite direction this times. Now, again, the questions, we are repeating the same set of questions, which is how many meeting points? How many meeting points? Okay. So how many meeting points? In this case, what do we have to do? First, the same thing, simplify it to the simplest ratio, the speeds to the simplest ratio, which is nothing but 5:8. 5:8 is the speed ratio. And after that, what we have to do is number of meeting points will be 5 plus 8 this time. Previously it was minus, this time it will be plus, which is 13 meeting points. They will meet at 13 meeting points. Okay, again you can write down the formula if you want to. If you want to write down the formula for this as well, please write it down. A is to B is equal to M is to N. If it is this, then the number of meeting points will be M plus N. Okay, this will be nothing but number of meeting points will be M plus N. Okay, and this is for opposite direction. This is for opposite direction if they're traveling in opposite direction in a circular track. Okay, so I hope this is clear. M plus N, simple. Second concept, what we learned in the same direction one. What was the second concept? the points were equidistant from each other. All the points, all the 3 points were equidistant from each other. In this case, will that happen? It will always happen. This will divide the circle into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I made a mistake. Let's do it again. Let's do all of this again so that I can make a better diagram. I have to divide into 13 points. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. 13. The starting point, this point will be one of the meeting points for sure. The starting point. Okay. Rest, there will be another 13 points and all of them will be equidistant, which is d by 13. Next point to next point, d by 13. Then next point to next point, d by 13. Then the next point to next point, d by 13, and so on. All the points will be equidistant from each other. This is a concept that is valid for opposite direction as well. Okay, so d by 13, each of the points will be at, and starting point will be my 13th meeting point, will be my 13th meeting point. Okay, in this one as well, the last meeting point is always the starting point. Okay, the last meeting point is always the starting point. So here I had a ratio of 5:8. Okay, 5:8. And can you tell me that in when they meet at the starting point, how many laps would have A covered and how many laps would have B covered? Either you can count it or you can simply say that when A covers 5 laps, B covers, at that time B covers 8 laps. This is the simplest ratio. So I can say A has covered 5 laps and B has covered 8 laps when they meet at the starting point. Okay, this is true. In the previous case as well, you could have seen that happening. But in this case as well, if you see, by the time A covers 5 laps, B covers 8 laps, and that is when they meet for the first time at the starting point. Okay, that is when they meet for the first time at the starting point. Whatever is the speed ratio, that many laps. So 5 laps for A, 8 laps for B. Okay, that is one concept. If I want to count as well, if I want to count in the previous case, if you had seen, I don't know if you have seen, but you can count 5 times. There were 3 meeting points. You can count it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then again you have to count it so many times, and you will see that after 5 laps, A and B will meet each other at the starting point. Okay, but this is what we have over here. First meeting point, second meeting point, third meeting point. Do we know what will be the first meeting point, second meeting point, and the third meeting point? Yes, now we can directly go to the distance. Now you know the concept, right? Sorry, 5:8. Now you know the concept, right? So what will be the concept? The first meeting point will be at what distance? The first meeting point, the distance that A has traveled, the distance that B has traveled will be each point. Okay, he has traveled 5 points and each point is d by 13 distance apart this time. 5d by 13. And this would be, he has traveled 8 points and this will be d by 13 again. Let's count it. Let's count if this is really happening. B is traveling in this direction, A is traveling in this direction. Is that happening? Let's remove these particular articles. Let's remove this and let's see if it is really happening. A is traveling in this direction, B is traveling in this direction. Let's see if they meet after 5 and 8 points. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he has covered 5 points. A has covered 5 points. B will cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Reaches over here. Okay, so this will be my first meeting point. Okay, I hope this is clear to you that now they are traveling in opposite direction. So A has traveled a distance of 5d by 13 and B has traveled a distance of 8 points. And A has traveled how many points? 5 points. Okay, so 5d by 13 and 8d by 13. That is where we have first meeting point. Okay, second meeting point. Again, you know what will be the distance that A and B will travel. It will be nothing but 5d by 13 into 2. And this also will be 8 into d by 13 into 2. Okay, and if you add these up, if you add this up, what will you get? Remember the first lecture, when they are traveling in opposite direction, the sum of their distances always is what? It is d. It is d. Okay, so the first meeting point, they have together covered a distance of d. In the second meeting point, if I add this up, I will get 2d. So D distance already covered till the first meeting point, another D distance covered from first meeting point to second meeting point. So the total distance covered till the second meeting point by both of them together is 2D. Okay, so D is basically every time they meet, they have covered a total distance of 2D if I add both the distances together. Okay, I hope you remember this, the first lecture. That is why I was teaching you this concept again and again, again and again. The first lecture was so boring, but it was important to understand this concept that every time they meet in opposite direction, they would have traveled a distance of D together. And every time they meet in the same direction, the faster one would have covered D distance more than the slower one. Okay. So this is how we got this. And time is clear. What else did we find out? How many meeting points we have found out? At which point, what will be the first meeting point, what will be the second meeting point, we have found out. What else did we have here? Equidistant points, again the same thing is happening. Starting point is the last meeting point, that is the 13th meeting point will be the starting point. Okay, so that we know that one as well. And how much time will it take? How much time, again, if we have to take, how much time will the first meeting point take? I can either do this, that is 5D by 13 divided by what? Divided by my 50 speed. Or I can do 8D by 13 divided by what? Divided by my 80, which is the speed of this. Okay, or I could have done total, they have traveled a distance of D divided by 50 plus 80. Okay, so I could have done this as well. But this is the first meeting point time. This is the first meeting point time. Okay, and when do they meet at the starting point? When do they meet at the starting point? Just understand this. When do they meet at the starting point? That for that, either I can write it as, you know what, 5D by 13. This is the distance into 13, right? By 50. So whenever they have covered a distance of 5D by 50, okay, that is the time taken to meet at the starting point. Or I can also say 8D by 13 into 13 divided by 80. Again, if I calculate this, it is nothing but 8D by 80. Okay, so if I simplify this, it is nothing D by 10 as D by 10, and this is also, if I simplify it, it will be D by 10. Okay, same time, obviously they will meet at the starting point. So the total time will be they will meet at D by 10 seconds. After D by 10 seconds, they will meet at the starting point. Okay, I hope this is also clear, but honestly, the starting time, we calculate it in a slightly different way. What I do is, when we do a problem, I'll show you. When we do a problem, I'll show you the starting point time. How do we calculate? Okay, now let's not get confused. Just understand that for every meeting point, we know the distance traveled till that meeting point. After that, we can also calculate what? We can calculate the time taken to reach that meeting point. We can divide by the individual speeds and we can calculate that as well. Okay. Now, suppose if I ask you, their 10th meeting point, what is the distance? How far they are from the starting point when they meet for the 10th time? When they meet for the 10th time. When they meet for the 10th time. Okay. So what will be the 10th meeting point that they will have? Do I know this? I don't know the 10th meeting point and I don't want to calculate that. But I can do is 5D by 3. A has covered how much distance? 5D by 3 into 10. That is the distance covered till the 10th meeting point that A has covered. What is that? That is 50D by 3. That is 50D by 3. Okay. I hope this is clear. Can you divide it into a multiple of D's? Because after every D, once A covers a distance of D, he reaches the starting point again. He reaches the starting point again. D, then again D, he reaches the starting point again, right? So if I write this as, take a multiple of 3, the closest to 50, which is 48, right? Less than 50, the closest multiple will be 48. Okay, so divided into 48D plus 2D divided by 3. So how can I write this as 16D plus 2 by 3D? I can write it as this, right? This 50 by 3D, I can write as 16D plus 2 by 3D. After 16D rounds, A has reached the starting point again. Matlab circle. That is a circular loop we are having. So 16 times that we can ignore it. So he has, after 16D distance, he is back at this point. Okay. How much extra distance now he will cover? He has to cover 2D by 3 more distance to meet at the 10th meeting point. Okay. This will be the 10th meeting point. So how much distance he will be far from the starting point. He will be at a distance of 2d by 3. So this will be my 10th meeting point. So at 10th meeting point, at my 10th meeting point, A and B will be 2d by 3 distance away from the center. They will be 2d by 3 distance away from the center. Okay, I can calculate it so fast. I don't have to like count 1 2 3 4 5 6. वो just दिखाने के लिए था आपको, just to make you understand that see this concept is working. But अगर मुझे calculate करना है how far they are from the center, I can calculate okay how much distance, total distance D has covered. उसको मैं एक whole number में 50d by 3 यहाँ पर आया था. So I can convert that into a whole multiple of 16, whole multiple of D, and which is in this case was 16d, and rest of the distance will be the distance from the center. Okay, 2 by 3d. Just be careful about one more thing over here. 2d by 3 तो मैंने यहाँ पर लिख दिया, but 2d by 3 का मतलब एक और होता है. 2d by 3 is not how far they are from the center. The answer might not be 2d by 3. The answer given in the option might be, see 2d by 3, what does it mean? 2/3 of d, right? So if this is still 16d, I've covered here, but 2/3 d is actually over here, somewhere over here, right? 2 by 3 parts of the total distance is somewhere over here. So actually the distance would be what? The actual distance can be d minus 2d by 3. Okay, so this is basically d distance, d minus 2d by 3, which will be d by 3 distance. Okay, so they might be at this particular distance from the center. Okay, actually I was doing for the same path, right? I did for the same direction calculation, or everything that I did. 5d by 3, if you remember, was the same direction. Okay, I should have informed you that this is when I'm calculating this, I'm doing it for the same direction. If suppose I was doing for opposite direction, will that change? Anything change? No. My distance would be 5d by 13 into 10. Okay, it will be 5d by 13 into 10, and my meeting point would have been what? 5d by 13 into 10. So it is 5d by 13. Okay, it is 50d by 13. This is the total distance A has covered till the 10th meeting point. Okay, till the 10th meeting point. Can I divide into the closest multiple of 13? What will it be? It will be 52, no, 39d. 39d is the closest that we get. So 39d plus 11d by 13. Okay, 39d, so sorry, 39d plus 11d by 13 is what we have. We can write it like this. So this will be nothing but 3d plus 11 by 13d. Okay, so 3 full laps I have covered. A has covered 3 full laps in this case, and after that, for the 10th meeting point, they will be at 11 by 3 13 distance. Another 11 by 13 distance he has to cover from the center. So 11 by 13d he has covered. So how far they are from the center, from the starting point, how far they are from the starting point? It is nothing but d minus 11 by 13d we can do. Okay, and this will be nothing but 2d by 13. Okay, this will be nothing but 2d by 13. Okay, I hope this is also clear. 2d by 13. Remember, whenever they have crossed more than d by 2, whenever they have crossed this d by 2, always do this subtraction. Okay, because that part will be closer, because it will be closer to the starting point in this direction. It will be closer to the starting point in this direction. Okay, but if it is less than d by 2, if this value, suppose 11d by 3, instead of 11 by 13d, if we had suppose 3 by 13d, then we should not have done this calculation, which is d minus 13 by d. We should not have done this because it would lie somewhere over here. Okay, 13 by 13d. So it is closer in this direction rather than in this direction. Okay, so then the distance from the starting point would have been still 3 by 13d. Okay, I know a lot of concepts to absorb, but when we do the problems, now you will understand how simple our task have become. If we were doing it with the equations, it's a nightmare. Circular motion is a nightmare if people don't know this concept. Okay, we have done almost everything we have covered over here. See how many things we have found out, how far they are from the center, the time required to reach the 3rd meeting point, 4th meeting point, 5th meeting point, 6th meeting point, 1st meeting point, that we have covered. What is the distance we have covered, how much travel A and B has traveled, how many meeting points, that also we have covered. So everything we can find out just if you're provided with these kind of speeds. Okay, and usually the speed ratio will be known to you. Okay, now let's do some problems and bring these concepts to life. Only then it will be clear. I hope the last concept is also clear to you. Just one mistake that I did was I did not inform you that this 5d by 3 is basically for the same direction. Otherwise, in case you were thinking why 5d by 3, why not 5d by 13, you were right. I was doing it for the same direction, 5d by 3. Okay. And that's why I found out that the distance from the starting point will be 2d by 3, or A would have traveled 2d by 3 distance after completing the 16th round. And this point from the starting point will be closer in the anti-clockwise direction. So that's why d minus 2d by 3 will be my starting point, which will be nothing but d by 3 from the starting point when they meet for the 10th time. And in this case it is 2d by 13 when they meet for the 10th time. Okay, in opposite direction when they meet for the 10th time, the A and B are 2d by 3 away from the starting point, 2d by 13 distance away from the starting point. Okay, so I hope this is making sense. Let's do problems and make everything absolutely clear.